lucky today to have the Nobel Prize-winning psychologist and economist, Daniel Kahneman, whose book, Thinking Fast and Slow, is one of the best sellers of last year and a great manual for how to make better decisions. Professor Kahneman is also a partner in the consulting firm, The Greater Good. Professor Kahneman, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Your book makes use of a very useful analogy. In fact, the analogy is built into the title, Thinking Fast and Slow. System 1 is thinking fast. System 2 is thinking slow. What's the difference between the two systems, and why is it important for business decision makers to understand the difference?
Well, system 1 is essentially what comes up automatically in your memory. So, when I say 2 plus 2, something comes to your head. When I say your mother, an emotion comes. So all these things that are automatic, that's what I call system 1. And you have no control of it because it's automatic and involuntary. System 2, the slower thinking, is distinguished really not so much by the fact that it's slow, although it's pretty slow, but by the fact that it's effortful and deliberate. So what you can do deliberately, you do in system 2. And you can control yourself, control your thoughts, perform complicated computations. Those things are activities of system 2. So system 1 does most of the mental work. It happens automatically. We don't have to worry where to put our next foot or what word should come next. Some of the work, and it's important work, is done by system 2 when we slow down.
Do decision makers sometimes think they're in system 2 when they're actually in system 1?
I think mostly. I think most of us feel that we have reasons for what we're doing. But in fact, we do what we're doing very largely because of reasons that we're not necessarily completely aware of. And then when we're asked, why do you do this? We have reasons. But the reasons are not necessarily the causes of our actions.
Does it lead to mental errors, bad decisions, because you think you've made a deliberation and you haven't?
It really depends whether you're very skilled and whether the world provides support for your skills. So, if you're a chess player and you make very quick decisions about your next move, if you're a master chess player, they're going to be good moves. But the world is not like the chessboard, so it's much more complicated. And in the world, a relatively good move is not necessarily successful. So it's much more complicated, the relationship between moves and outcomes. And there, sometimes, system 2, slowing yourself down, has advantages and enables you to see things that system 1 doesn't.
You've often talked about, and one of the things that's given your research such purchase, is that people often make mistakes because they're in system 1. And even if they know that they're in system 1, or even if they're aware of the mental shortcut or short circuit, if you will, that they're doing, they can't help themselves.
Well, this isn't familiar to everybody from visual illusions. So, there are those famous illusions where you have 2 lines and one looks longer than the other, and I tell you that they're of equal length, and one continues to look longer than the other. The problem is with what we call cognitive illusions, the illusions in thinking, that it's never quite as clear-cut, that, you really believe that you are wrong. With the visual illusion, you really believe that you are wrong. But with the cognitive illusions, it continues to feel right. So you have an error, somebody tells you it's an error. Your better self tells you it's an error, but it still feels right.
Can you give me an example?
Well, there are people, there are psychopaths who instill a lot of confidence. And you shouldn't believe them because you've been warned against them. But you feel warmth toward them. And you feel that, what you have been told must be a mistake because, that person is so charming. That's a cognitive illusion.
Yes. So some people trusted Bernie Madoff and insisted that he was an honorable man.
Although they were warned. That's the key. There was something very compelling in him, and the feeling that he elicited was stronger than the warnings.
System 1. The intuitive, fast-thinking system in which most people spend most of their time, operates in a state that you call cognitive ease. Well, system 2 requires something you call cognitive strain. When you're taking the easy path of System 1, what kinds of mistakes are you prone to?
In the first place, you are going to act more impulsively. You're going to act quickly. So if your impulses turn out to be wrong, if you're not a chess player, but you're sort of living in a world where first impulses are not necessarily wrong, you may make mistakes, which, by the way, not all mistakes are avoidable, but there are some mistakes that if you brought System 2 to bear, if you slowed yourself down, you could avoid. So when you are in a sort of free flow mode of cognitive ease and System 1 running the show, you're going to be more impulsive, you're going to be more emotional, you're going to be more optimistic, and you're going generally to follow your first impressions and your first intuitions.
And isn't that good? Haven't we read that your gut is right 90% of the time?
No, it's not right 90% of the time. The chess player's gut, if the chess player is a master, is right 90% of the time. Those are situations that allow for skill. But when we're dealing with situations, whether to invest in this or that, or whether to, we're not always there. The first impulse is not necessarily right the first time.